Hi, if you subscribe to me, I'd be incredibly happy. Thank you. This case takes place in the USA in the year 2019. This case has to be one of the most sadistic I have ever come across. The manipulation, the planning involved will make your skin crawl. Jaime Rae Feden was born on the 13th of April 1986 in the Pittsburgh suburbs. From an early age, Jaime faced some challenges most children will never know. She was born with Veta syndrome. This condition is a rare collection of birth defects that affects the spine, anus, trachea, esophagus, and renal system. As a result, she remained physically small and would only reach around 4 feet tall as an adult. It also meant that she required medical care and support throughout her life. Adding to an already unfortunate set of circumstances, her mother passed away when she was only 11, and after that, her extended family stepped in to help raise her. Jamie's aunt became a constant presence in her life and helped her manage her care. To those around her, Jaime wasn't just a child to be looked after. She was deeply loved, and everyone who knew her felt the need to protect her. It's said that she became the heart of the home, and her grandparents especially adored her. Despite these obstacles, Jaime lived with determination. She attended high school in Pittsburgh, which served students with special needs, and she graduated in the year 2006. Teachers recalled that she was a bright student who tried hard and took pride in her achievements. Later, she earned an associate's degree in administrative medical assisting, which gave her something that she had always longed for: independence. She put this degree to use at a local senior care home, where she worked helping residents with their daily needs. Her co-workers remember her fondly. She was always quiet, sweet, and always willing to help. For Jaime, work was more than just a job. It was a way to feel useful and a way to feel connected to other people. Her condition sometimes made other areas of her life difficult. She had a small frame and a soft voice. Strangers would sometimes stare. She often spoke about how it felt to be judged for her size and her disability. But at work, she made some real connections. People close to Jaime described her as gentle, trusting, and eager to connect. She was the kind of person who saw the good in others before she saw the bad, and tragically this kindness made her vulnerable. And now, that vulnerability is no longer just a trait, it's a painful reminder of just what was done to her. From her early 20s right through her early 30s, Jaime had a tumultuous on and off relationship with a man by the name of John Matthew Chapman. John was around 6 years older than she was. They met through mutual circles connected to her special needs school. Over time, their bond deepened. Jaime saw John as more than a friend. To her, he was a boyfriend, possibly even something more. But this sentiment was not reciprocated. Jaime would speak about him often. When her friends asked about what was going on in their relationship, she would smile shyly and then say that they were just working things out. But their relationship had its ups and downs, and it was clear as day to her friends and family. On one occasion, John turned up at a bar with Jaime to meet Jamie's friend Lawrence. But Jaime had 2 black eyes. Lawrence was furious, so was the owner of the bar. They knew Jaime, and once they saw her eyes, they chased John out of the bar down the street. But still, Jaime stayed with him. He was known to be mean to her and always used her for money. He would often drift away, but Jaime always held on. Somehow, she believed that he loved her. She even told people that they had planned a future together. Sometimes she even hinted at moving somewhere new with him and just starting over. Those closest to Jaime often worried about this happening, knowing what sort of man he truly was. When they asked questions, Jaime was quick to defend him. If someone ever doubted John's intentions, Jaime would insist that they just didn't understand him like she did. She trusted him, and she forgave him when he made promises that he never kept. All the while, John cared very little about Jaime. In fact, for the 10-year period that they were on and off, he was living a second life and had 2 wives. He was married to a woman named Kelly Murray for 7 years, and another woman named Maureen Chapman during his last year of freedom. John Chapman was born in 1980. It's not known whether or not he had learning difficulties himself, or whether he attended a special needs school. Much of his life seems to be shrouded in mystery. According to his first wife Kelly, John was a complete narcissist. During their marriage, John lied about what he did for work and told her that he worked for the CIA, when in reality, he was installing CCTV. Kelly also recalled a strange moment in their relationship where the IRS turned up at their door and arrested John. Unbeknownst to her, between 2007 and 2011, John carried out a calculated fraud built on stolen identities. He took names and social security numbers that didn't belong to him and used them to file dozens of fake federal income tax returns. He claimed refunds in their names and then funneled the money straight into the accounts he controlled, and managed to make himself roughly $113,000. John was facing a maximum sentence of 515 years in prison and up to $6.5 million in fines. His sentencing was set for the 11th of July 2014. However, there is no public record of his sentence, or the time he served in prison. Soon after, Kelly and John broke up. By 2019, John was married to a woman named Maureen, but despite the marriage, he continued his relationship with Jaime. It had been ongoing for years and showed no signs of ending anytime soon. One day, John met up with Jaime. He brought up an idea that the two should go off on a road trip. At first, he suggested a camping trip, something simple and something secluded. But he told her that this would be more than just a little getaway. He said they could go on vacation together and even look at properties in Las Vegas. He talked about starting a new life there, just the two of them. But John also mentioned something else. He mentioned that they could have a little fun and shoot some S&M bondage videos together. For Jaime, it felt like things were finally changing. After everything, it seemed to her like John was ready to make a real commitment, but the truth was far more sinister. The trip was never about a future together, and the cable ties and tape that John was preparing was not for a bondage video session. It was for something way worse. With Jaime on board, John turned to Maureen, his wife. He told her he needed to visit some family in Bethel Park and asked if he could borrow her truck, and Maureen agreed. There was no reason for her to doubt him, as he was her husband for over 1 year. It was the morning of the 23rd of September 2019. This was the day when John took the truck and headed for Bethel Park. Bethel Park was where Jaime lived. John set off. He picked up Jaime, and then the two headed to Nirvana, which was over 2,000 miles away. The two travelled for a couple of days, and arrived in Las Vegas late on the 24th of September. John wasted no time in enacting his terrible plan. The very next day, on the 25th of September 2019, he persuaded Jaime to head to Lincoln County 150 miles north of Las Vegas. He told her that he wanted the sadomasochistic bondage photo shoot to be taken with a desert backdrop, and that they would need to drive to the middle of nowhere to achieve this. And so, the two got back into the van and drove into the desert. Whilst driving through the empty highway, he spotted an isolated area near a signpost. This was the moment he had planned for. He told Jaime to take her clothing off, and she did just as he requested, because Jaime trusted John and she loved him. Dating had never been easy for Jaime, and she had been hurt many times in the past, let down and used. But with John, she believed that it was truly different. She believed that she had finally found her person, so when he gave an order, she always followed it. John told Jaime to get out of the car and stand near a signpost. He then bound her ankles and wrists together with zip ties, wrapping her around the signpost. It was all likely smiles at this point, just fun and games. That was until John got out his heavy-duty duct tape. He walked over to Jaime and began wrapping her mouth. But he didn't stop there. He kept going and going. He wrapped the tape around her head until it covered her mouth and her nose. This caused Jaime to lose the ability to breathe. She gazed back towards John to signal distress. She likely thought that he did this by accident, but John was unfazed. This was his plan all along. He knew what he was doing. He wanted to watch her die, and he wanted to watch the life drain from her eyes whilst she panicked for her life. And asphyxiation can take longer than you might expect. This scene may have gone on for minutes. Eventually, Jamie's body began to give up, tied naked to a signpost in the Nevada desert sun. John just looked on, satisfied with what he had done to her, but the horror didn't end there. In a final act of humiliation and a lack of love or emotion towards Jaime, he unwrapped her face, cut her zip ties, and took a photograph of her dead body. After taking the photograph, he just left her there, hunched over near the signpost. Next, all John needed to do was leave the area. The isolated spot he had chosen would ensure Jaime would not be found for some time, and when she would be found, she would likely be decomposed. To increase the chances of getting away with murder, he decided to head back to Bethel Park and live in Jamie's townhouse. While he travelled back to Pennsylvania, he discarded her clothing at spots all along the way. From Bethel Park, he controlled whether or not people thought she was alive by using her social media accounts. Using her Facebook Messenger account, he messaged her family and friends as if she were alive. It was sick and twisted. Whilst posing as Jaime, he messaged her family saying that she needed some space and some time away from them. He continued to make out like she had a problem with her family, and even said to them, "The way you people are treating me right now, I don't feel part of the family." To her family, these messages were out of the blue and were unlike Jaime, so suspicion began to mount. John also had access to Jamie's money, and he soon began spending it. John then called his wife Maureen and said that he would have to extend his stay at his family member's house, vaguely claiming that something bad had happened. By early November 2019, Jamie's relatives had grown ever more suspicious. They hadn't actually seen her since September, and something about the Facebook messages felt rather off. And so they began to plan. One family member staged a lie. They said to Jaime over Facebook that a member of the family had died. This would have provoked a very emotional response from Jaime, and she would have headed to her family right away if it was truly her. However, John responded with, "I'm sorry, when did he die?" He said this like it was nothing. In these moments they knew that this wasn't Jaime on the other side of the phone. So Jamie's family requested that a policeman head to Jamie's townhouse for a welfare check. When the police arrived on the 14th of November, nobody appeared to be home. Neighbours stated that they had not seen Jaime in approximately 2 months, but they had observed a person whom they believed to be her boyfriend entering and leaving the residence. The police went back and knocked on the door again, but there was no answer. The police were left with no choice but to break down the door. The police used force to gain entry, and once inside, they found a ton of evidence of foul play and John's deception. The police found identification cards belonging to John, along with Jamie's laptop and her mobile phone. And, in plain sight, they found John's kill kit. His rolls of duct tape and cable ties were also on show. On the 15th of November 2019, Bethel Park Police Department detectives were able to track John down with ease. Once they got him, there was no struggle, and there was no denial. Once he was in custody, John Chapman confessed almost immediately, and he admitted to absolutely everything. He began talking, and he told the police that in late September, he had lured Jaime to Las Vegas under false pretenses. He told the police that he never intended to build a future with her. He then described driving her out into the middle of nowhere, telling Jaime that it was just for a photo shoot. He then described in detail how he bound her to a signpost using zip ties, taped her mouth and nose shut, and waited. The police were horrified as he described how he slowly watched her die. This was not a crime of passion, jealousy, or rage. For John, this was all about money. Almost simultaneously, the authorities learned that a body in Nevada had been found in the desert on the 5th of October 2019. A local 8-year-old boy and his father had discovered the skeletal remains still bound to a signpost in a canyon north of Las Vegas. Dental records and tattoos confirmed that the body was Jaime. Federal and local agencies joined forces. The FBI, the Nevada Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, and the Bethel Park Police pooled evidence. Among the key findings was that John's cell phone contained a photograph of Jaime tied up in the desert on September the 25th. Geolocation data from the photograph also positioned John at the very same scene where Jaime was found. The police also found financial records which showed that he had withdrawn cash from her accounts too. Altogether, the physical evidence, the forensic results, the confession, all painted a chilling picture of this premeditated murder. But the police kept on investigating, and this is where they found some rather disturbing searches on John's devices. Keywords included dump, body, and Nevada. These were searched that very first night when they arrived in Las Vegas on the 24th of September. He drove 2,000 miles, sat next to someone he knew he was going to murder, and who he knew loved him. What's bizarre is that John requested to call and speak to his wife Maureen after the arrest. He then proceeded to tell her that he had killed a woman, and that he needed to do it. At this point, his wife Maureen realized what had been going on, and that he had been living a double life, leaving her with only one question: why? She then began to remember that John once asked her to travel out to Nevada for the same kind of photo shoot. So the question is, did she dodge a bullet? Did he plan on killing his wife too? For reasons unclear, the case took a long time before it made its way to the courts. John was arrested and confessed in 2019 when he was 39, but his trial date was set for when he was 44. The trial commenced on the 22nd of April 2024 in Las Vegas. The trial was held in federal court and was scheduled to last for 2 weeks, but it wouldn't take the jury that long to decide. He was facing a whole life term and even the possibility of the death penalty. During the proceedings, prosecutors presented evidence that John had lured Jaime from Pennsylvania to Nevada under the pretense of a vacation and a potential home purchase, and that once in the Nevada desert, he bound her to a signpost and suffocated her with duct tape, leaving her body behind. The prosecution quite literally had bags of evidence, and deliberate intent was clear for all to see. John's defense, however, centered on the claim that he didn't intend to kill her. His legal team actually had the audacity to argue that the death was not premeditated, suggesting that the incident was accidental. The defense aimed to challenge the prosecution's assertion of deliberate intent, hoping to avoid the death penalty. Only 8 days later, on the 1st of May, the jury found John Chapman guilty of kidnapping and murdering Jaime in the first degree. On the 2nd of August 2024, John was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During his trial and sentencing, John did not express any remorse, nor did he offer an apology for the murder of Jaime. Media coverage and court records don't indicate that he ever made any statements of regret during the proceedings. After Jaime's body was identified, her family and those who loved her came together to honor the life she lived and mourn the brutal way it ended. Her obituary described her as resilient, kind, loving, and strong-willed. On the 15th of February 2020, friends and family gathered at the Beinhauer Funeral Home in McMurray, Pennsylvania. The case of Jaime is one of the most heart-wrenching I have ever covered. It's disturbing just how common vulnerable people like Jaime are preyed upon by the absolute worst of society. The way he pretended to be her after killing her in such a way is just beyond despicable. To this day, John Chapman has never expressed any form of remorse for what he did to Jaime or her family.